By what name are you known?
There are some who call me... Tim?
Welcome to another episode of Timmy Talks, the channel where we talk old school magic. And today we are back at the Uthden Troll Cup, the third edition of this tournament, and we have reached the quarterfinals. Oh, I'm so excited to show you this match. The decks are so cool. Now, if you've missed any of the previous games, please take a moment to click on the info card that's appearing right now, because that will take you to the Uthden Troll Cup playlist, where you can find all the other games and all the other episodes that are made so far. It's a very spectacular tournament. And in this quarterfinals, we are looking at a completely core set deck, completely black border, just an absolute beauty. Is being piloted by Dy, and he's named it the Uthden Trollion Angel deck. And I mean, I'm just impressed that he's reached the quarterfinals with only core set cards. Okay, they're the best core set cards, but still only core set. And his opponent is a deck that, if you've seen last week's episode, it will look very familiar because it's a deck that was featured in that match. It is black and white Dead Guy Ale on steroids, and the steroids is added because it's got blue power in there. So those are basically the steroids, and is being piloted by Robbert-Jan. And I mean, again, a very strong deck. Like I said in the episode last week, I'd love to see Juice and Jins doing so well at a tournament. We don't see that card enough anymore, unfortunately. So I'm really happy to see it here. Now, before I start with the deck text, like always, I would like to point out that you can also skip that section by checking the description below. There you will find several timestamps. One of those timestamps reads MTG Games. Click on there and that will take you straight to the action. And the nice thing is, in the description below, you can also find more information about the specific rule set that we're following for this tournament. And you can find links about where you can find more information about the Uthden Troll Cup. Maybe you want to join us next year or the year after. You can find all the information in the description below, or at least where you can find the information that you need to know. Okay, so this is everything that I wanted to share for the introduction. Now let's start with the deck tech, and I'm going to start with the deck of Dy, Uthden Troll Angel. Okay, and here we see the first deck of this quarter-final match, D's Uthden Troll Angel deck. Beautiful name. As we can see, it's white, it's blue, and it's red. And what I like about this deck is the mana curve of the creatures. I really like it. I think you've got your Savannah Lines full playset. You can drop that turn 1, right? Then hopefully turn 2 or turn 3, you know, with a little bit of ramp, you can play your Ancestral 1 red and 2 to cast for a 2/2 with regeneration. But if you have a Swamp, it becomes a 3/3. So in a lot of cases, it will be a 3/3 creature. So that means you've got a lot of power on board pretty early in the game, and you can start dealing damage with that. On top of that, he's got, on the top end, he's got his Serra Angels and this beautiful black bordered Shivan Dragon. I'm hoping to see the Shivan in action. Shivan against Juice and Jin, that would be so cool. Hoping for that. Talking about dealing with creatures, he has a lot of weapons to deal with. He's got lightning bolts, he's got psionic blasts, and he's got those beautiful disenchants to deal with early Mishra's Factories, but also to deal with those annoying underworld dreams that Robbert-Jan is playing with a full playset. So those disenchants could be quite important in this matchup. And also the lightning bolts, of course, are ideal to deal with the Hypnotic Spectre. We saw that in the game of last week, when the Robbert-Jan's Hypnotic Spectres were just completely, well, not useless because they eat up a lightning bolt, but they weren't as decisive as I think a Hypnotic Spectre can be. And also, of course, you can use your Psionic Blast on the Hypnotic Spectre as well. It's going to be slightly more difficult for Dy to deal with the Juice and Jins because, you know, he's playing only core sets, so he doesn't have access to, for example, a City in a Bottle. But he does have the Set Scroll with regeneration, which makes a great blocker to deal with the Juice and Jin. And he's got 2 Swords to Plowshares and a Control Magic in the sideboard. So I'm actually expecting him to board those cards in after game 1. Looking at this deck and kind of also knowing the deck of Robbert-Jan, it's really a 50-50 match in my opinion, especially since it's Dy who is piloting this deck. Dy is so good in the alpha beta format. He's really, it's his favorite format, I think. I mean, I'm not sure. I've never asked, but I think it's his favorite format. He's won a lot of alpha beta tournaments. He's just really good in the alpha beta format. And the fact that he's reached the quarterfinals with an alpha beta deck, I mean, that says enough. Maybe for me, he's even a slight favorite in this matchup. Anyway, this is the deck of Dy. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this brew. And now we are going to have a look at the deck of his opponent, Robbert-Jan. Let's take a look at that guy Ale on steroids. And here we see the deck of Robbert-Jan, and his plan is really to get out of the gates as quickly as he can, right? With this Dead Guy Ale on steroids brew. Now, I've already discussed it last week, so I'm going to keep it brief. But just a little reminder, what is this deck all about? Well, preferably in turn 1, he wants to play a Dark Ritual, a Mox, a Black Lotus, maybe a combination of both, and kind of try to get Underworld Dreams out as quickly as possible. Hypnotic Spectre turn 1 is always good. Try to get your Jusum Djinn perhaps on a turn 1 or a turn 2. Just put the pressure on right from the get-go, and then of course having access to that white control package with Swords to Plowshares, also an Armageddon in here, you know, when he's ahead on board, he can play the Armageddon, get all the lands off of the table, and that way take full advantage of his board situation, for example, with a Jusum Djinn. And remember, Jusum Djinn has 5 power, so that's an immediate threat for the opponent. It's something the opponent has to act upon. And the same thing can be said for Hypnotic Spectre. Yes, it's only 2 in power, but every time it hits the opponent has to discard a card. So it's also a huge problem. There is truth in that, where people say, okay, if you do turn 1 Dark Ritual into Hippie, it's no good because so many players are playing with a lot of creature removal in their deck, so they'll probably have a Bolt or a Swords or another way to get rid of the Hippie. Yes, there is a danger when you go for that, so you're kind of setting yourself up for 2 for 1. But if your opponent doesn't have an immediate response, you're already going to take out the value because you're going to deal damage with the Hypnotic Spectre, and your opponent is going to discard cards at random. And that at random clause is huge. It's not like a Disrupting Scepter where your opponent can choose. No, it's a random effect, right? So that can have a disastrous consequence for your opponent. So I kind of like that all or nothing attitude of this Dead Guy Ale deck. Another thing I really like is playing aggro and playing Underworld Dreams. I think it's a great combination. I remember that a lot of Dreams decks would always be control decks, right? Because your win condition was Underworld Dreams, and then you would just control the board and play very slow and very defensive. But in the way people are using Underworld Dreams now more and more is saying, you know what, I can use it in my aggro strategy because it's just an extra point of damage that my opponent cannot take. And it also works great with draw 7s. We see Time Twister in this deck. Perhaps, you know, Dy is also playing with red. So we might see him casting a Wheel of Fortune. Although, he is playing with Wheel of Fortune, so that is an option. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. So this is the deck of Robbert-Jan. We've also looked at the deck of Dy. Both decks are absolutely beautiful in my humble opinion. And it means we're ready. Let's go to the games. Game number 1. Here we go. We've got Dy sitting on the left side with his Uthden Trollion Angel deck, and it looks like he's taking a mulligan, putting 1 card on the bottom there, and it's Robbert-Jan on the play with his Dead Guy Ale on steroids. There we see the opening that he wants to, and there's an Hypnotic Spectre turn 1, used his Black Lotus to cast a Hippie, and now let's see if Dy can find a Bolt. It's a risk that Robbert-Jan is taking, but I get it. When you play this strategy, you have to go all for it. There is a Mox Sapphire and a Plateau. Is there going to be a Bolt? There is going to be a Savannah Lines. And that means that Robbert-Jan, his risk has paid off. You know, he will be able to at least swing in once, taking a card out of the hand of Dy. So there we see Dy. He goes to 18. And he's going to lose a card at random here. I always like it when, you know, taking a risk pays off. Oh, and a Strip Mine there on the red source. There's a Mox Pearl and a Disenchant. Look at that. Look at the Robbert-Jan go. What a great start for him. Taking care of business. There we see another land, and there's an attack, a scrub land to be precise. And it's looking pretty grim here for Dy already. Another attack from Robbert-Jan. He's going to lose another card, going to drop to 16. There we see him shuffle up. He's going to go to 2 cards. Oh, Badland's gone. There we see another scrubland and a pass, at least for Dy, not another creature coming in from Robbert-Jan. There's an attack. There is a Swords on the Lions. So he's going to go up to 18. And a pass turn, no lands anymore for Dy. Of course, he lost 2 lands to the Hypnotic Spectre already, taken out of his hand before he was able to play them and lose a land to the Strip Mine. And now he's losing a Disenchant. Not too bad. Could be worse. Let's hope he finds a land and can make this into an actual game. There we see a Mishra's Factory, an attack. So he's going to drop to 14, lose another card. And here we can really see the value of a turn 1 Hypnotic Spectre. If your opponent does not have an answer, it is a big problem. And I think this hippie is really deciding this first game. There's another Mishra's Factory. There's an attack pumping it up. That means 5 damage going to drop to 9. And he's going to lose another card. Let's see what card he's going to lose. Losing a Lightning Bolt. Ah, that's so frustrating here for Dion. If you could just find a red source. He's probably going to draw a red card now. Yeah, here we see a red source. Mox Ruby. That's that's magic for you. It can be a very frustrating game. And I'm expecting Dion here to swing in for 4. Or, yeah, he's going to swing in for 6. Then in total, there we see a disenchant at least. He's going to go to 5, lose his last card, which is another disenchant. So he had a disenchant and bolt and another disenchant in hand. But because of the continuous attacks of the Hypnotic Spectre, he wasn't able to get the time to play them out, you know, and find the answers to the threats. And now he's passing turn. Oh, man. So he's going to lose the card he's got in hand. He's going to take 4 more damage. Look at that beautiful Shivan Dragon. It's going to go into the bin. Oh, no. And Dion is pointing out, is saying, I'm still on 1. I'm not dead yet. So Robbert-Jan was a little bit too optimistic there. And it's a little sloppy. Because maybe, you know, maybe Dion is going to find a balance. Although a balance wouldn't be enough, I guess. And that's it. Game here for Robbert-Jan. He's going to win game number 1. And I'm expecting Dion to board in his swords, to board in his control magic, to just have more answers to these threats. And yeah, this you can have these games. If you don't have an answer to the Hypnotic Spectre, this is what can happen. But it's only game number 1. Remember, this is a best of 3. So both players are going to go and look at their sideboards, going to do their thing, and we'll catch back up with them in game number 2. Game number 2. Let's see what's going to happen here. So 1 game up for Robbert-Jan. It means D is on the play. And look at that. He's taking a mulligan again. It's not ideal, especially when you're on the play, you know, and then you're starting with 6. Now you've got 5 in hand. Playing a Tundra here. And, okay, Mox, another Mox. What is he going to do here? And again, a turn 1 Savannah Lions. So that's a Mox Ruby and a Mox Sapphire. Beautiful black bordered cards. There is a basic Swamp by Robbert-Jan. So that's a bit of a slow start here for Robbert-Jan. He's going to go to 18. And there's a pass turn. So no Dark Ritual, no Mox, no Black Lotus. Is there going to be, yeah, a Sinkhole here on the Tundra? And is there going to be a response? And that Sinkhole is pretty solid here because D seems to have passed his turn without playing a land, his previous turn. So now he's going into turn number 3. He's going to have an attack here. There is a land again. Robbert-Jan going to go to 16 and there's a pass. Those Sinkholes, of course, really work well with Robbert-Jan's tempo strategy. There he's playing another Mishra's Factory and another pass. So Mishra's Factory could be kind of annoying. I am expecting Dion here to attack, offering a trade. And it looks like Robbert-Jan is taking it. Now the question is, does Dion have a Disenchant or maybe a Bolt? He has a Swords. Okay, another option does the same thing. So these are the Swords to Plowshares that came out in from the sideboard. So there's an Ancestral Recall. And he's going to take 2 life, go to 18, but also take 2 damage from the Savannah Lines. And now we see that Ancestral Recall that has been resolved. So that means 4 new cards for Robbert-Jan here. So I'm expecting him to play out a Hippie. Or maybe find some ramp. Ooh, a Mind Twist. Equally annoying. Mind Twist for 2. And remember, D already started with 1 card less. And he's going to lose 2 cards. What cards? Oh, Mind Twist of his own. Oh, man. And also a Psionic Blast. So he's losing 2 really good cards here. Finding a Badlands, playing it out, attacking for 2. So Robbert-Jan's going to go to 14 and a pass. The problem, of course, here for Dion is, I mean, look at the amount of cards in the hand of Robbert-Jan. It's just insane. And D only has 1 card. I mean, it's so good to play an Ancestral Recall and then find a Mind Twist and then play a Mind Twist. That's so much card advantage. Tapping 3 here. And there we see the Hypnotic Spectre. Does he have a Bolt in hand here to deal with the Hippie? A Psyblast, okay, does the same thing, killing it on the spot. It's kind of interesting because Dion also could have chosen to attack with the Savannah Lions and perhaps trade it. But I guess he wants to go on the aggro plan, which is a good thing because he knows, listen, if we play the long game, Robbert-Jan has more cards than me, he's probably going to win. So I need to try to put as much pressure on his life total as I possibly can. The problem is it's not much. He's still on 12, which is pretty good. There we see an Underworld Dreams. Interesting, so he's not finding a Jusum Jin or any other creature to play out. And this is not too bad. I mean, when you're Dion, you don't really mind this. As long as you can just keep hitting with your Savannah Lines. And there is another duel. And, ooh, Time Walk. That's actually pretty nice. It's an extra 2 damage, and perhaps he can find a creature here to play out as well. So he's going to drop here to 16. I'm expecting him to swing in, putting Robbert-Jan on 8. This is interesting. What is he going to do? Tapping 4. Armageddon! Oh, this is so sweet. I mean, I like this play by D. He knows, I mean, I just hardly have any cards in hand. He has the advantage. Robbert-Jan has the upper hand. All I can do is try to keep my Savannah line alive and just keep dealing damage with it. I mean, Robbert-Jan is on a 4-turn clock here. If he cannot find any lands, okay, he's finding a Mox Sapphire. But remember, most of his deck are black spells or white spells. And if you're Robbert-Jan, you probably want to have a white mana source to, for example, cast the Swords to Plowshares on the Savannah Lines. But Robbert-Jan's going to go to 6. There's a pass turn. Okay, this is good news. Yep. Well, good news for Robbert-Jan, that is. So Robbert-Jan's going to drop to 5 and dealing with the Savannah Lines. And that means that we see D going up here and, of course, taking a damage from the Underworld Dreams as well. So he's on 16 now. So 16 against 5. Can Robbert-Jan still win this? Can he get back into this? He's going to tap 2. He's going to go to 4. Disenchant. Yeah, it does make sense, though. But it's understandable that Robbert-Jan needed a moment to think about it because his life total is so incredibly low. He's on 4. He doesn't want to go to 3 because he's playing against a deck with bolts. And you can really see him think here, like, oh, what to do? I'm on 4. If I tap the City of Brass, I'm going to go to 3. He is going to do it, though. He's going to go to 3. It is understandable when you've got a Demonic Tutor in hand. Remember, he's already played out Ancestral Recall and he's already played out the Mind Twist. Maybe he's just going to look up a mana source. Black Lotus, perhaps? Of course, it depends on what's in his hand. I mean, he's on 3. He doesn't want to keep tapping his City of Brass. And I just have this feeling. Yeah, okay, Black Lotus into Hypnotic Spectre, that makes sense. I have this feeling that Dion has a Lightning Bolt in hand. I don't know why, but I just have this feeling. There we see Black Lotus on the side of Dion. Oh, a Psyblast! And there was the Lightning Bolt. I knew it! And he's winning this game. This is incredible. After that Mind Twist, I thought, okay, Dion, you're toast. I mean, Robbert-Jan is going to continue to the semifinals, but wow, this is Magic. This is why I love Magic so much. So it is 1-1. We're going to go to game number 3. Game number 3, here we go, 1-1. It's still everybody's game. Robbert-Jan on the player, I guess that's a slight advantage for him. Playing a basic swamp into a Soul Ring. Let's see what else can he do there. There is a Plateau into Savannah Lines and a pass. Untap of the swamp here. Another basic swamp. And there is a Black Knight that came in from the sideboard. Really good against those Savannah Lines. And of course, they also have protection from the Swords to Plowshares. I wonder if we're going to see a Bolt. There is the Tundra. And it looks like D is a little bit in the tank here. Not sure what to do. Looking at his hand, knowing this is game number 3. Remember, whoever wins this will advance to the semifinals. There's a tap. There's a disenchant on the Soul Ring. And then there's the pass. And Dy, of course, knows by now that Robbert-Jan is also playing with Underworld Dreams and, of course, with Mishra's Factory. So it makes sense that he needed a moment to think about, okay, by disenchanting the Sol Ring, what kind of threats am I kind of taking away here? What am I gaining by doing this? There's the attack here by Robbert-Jan. And we see Dy going to 18. There's that Mishra's Factory, so he's now already used up his one disenchant. Perhaps he has a second one in hand, who knows? There's a Demonic Tutor. What is he going to look up? Now, can you imagine if he would still have the Sol Ring in play, he would definitely go for Mind Twist. But I wonder what he's going to do now. Perhaps still a Mind Twist. Maybe even a mana source. Maybe he's missing blue mana or white mana to do what he wants to do. Shuffling up here. Maybe a Hypnotic Spectre. There are actually a lot of good options here for Robbert-Jan. There's another attack, or actually not another, the first attack by the Savannah Lions. There's a Volcanic Island. And a pass turn. And now let's see what cards Robbert-Jan has picked. There is a Scrubland. First there's the attack, so Dy is going to drop to 16. I'm expecting him to play out something. Mind Twist, okay. So he looked up Mind Twist. At least now we know. And there is going to be a response here. Perhaps a disenchant on the Mishra's... Ooh! Power Sink. That is some sweet tech. That came in from the sideboard. That is really nice. Power Sink on the Mind Twist. I was kind of expecting a disenchant or maybe a Psionic Blast. And also a Lightning Bolt on the Black Knight. So again, the tables have kind of turned here. There's the attack for 2. Robbert-Jan dropping to 16. There's a Badlands. Mox Sapphire and a pass turn. So no Serra Angel. He doesn't have 2 white. Yeah, he does have 2 white. He's got Plateau and Tundra. But no Serra Angel from Dy or a Sedgetroll. And at least that's good news when you're Robbert-Jan. Both players on 16. It looks like he's going to attack animating the 2-2. And he's going to attack for 2 here. Are we going to see a response? I mean, this is difficult, right? Because imagine you have 1 Lightning Bolt in hand. Are you going to use it on the factory? Having the risk that maybe after that exactly Robbert-Jan is going to play out another threat. Like a Black Knight or perhaps a Hypnotic Spectre. There we see a Power Sink again. I mean, these Power Sinks are doing work. Really nice to see the Mustard Man do so much work here. There's the attack. Robbert-Jan dropping to 14. I wonder if he's going to attack again. Why not? It's kind of a race right now, but both players are able to deal 2 damage a turn. We still haven't seen any Jusum Jins. There's an attack for 2 by Robbert-Jan. Is Dy going to respond? Again, he's kind of in the tank here. Yep, there is a Swords to Plowshares. So that means 2 more life for Robbert-Jan. But it also means he loses a land and he doesn't have another land drop. I mean, things are looking pretty good here. Oh, okay, there's also a Swords. So again, both players are on 16. This is really a grindy game. And there's a pass turn. 2 cards in hand for Dy, and I believe Robbert-Jan has 4 cards in hand. Although it's kind of hard to see. Tapping 2 black here. And, oh, there's a sinkhole. Not that impactful at this point in the game, but still, you're taking Dy off double white. And remember, he is playing with, I believe, 3 Serra Angels. And Dy again, going through the cards and passing turn here. So both players just in top decking mode at the moment. Robbert-Jan, I believe, 4 cards in hand, and now Dy also has 4 cards in hand. Both players are on 16. Both players have 4 mana available. It's really everybody's game here. What an interesting quarterfinals. Let's see what he's going to do. There we see another plateau, tapping everything he has. I'm expecting a Serra. There's the Serra Angel. And is there an answer by Robbert-Jan here? There we see an Underground Sea, Ancestral Recall, trying to find an answer for that Serra Angel. Is he finding another source, for example? Tapping Terror, perhaps? There's a balance. Ooh, interesting move. So the balance is going to take care of the Serra Angel, but it also means that Robbert-Jan is going to lose 2 lands. Oh, 1 land only. And he's going to lose some cards, I think. So yes, you take care of the Serra Angel, but at a pretty heavy price. He's discarding 2 lands here, City of Brass and a scrub land, and passing turn. And I guess when you're Dion, you're also kind of happy that your opponent has played out the balance. I mean, that's just a huge card. And when we look at the graveyard of Robbert-Jan, we see some really good cards in there already. Demonic Tutor, Mind Twist, Ancestral Recall, Balance. There we see a Disenchant on the Mox. So the Mox Sapphire is gone. And a pass turn. And remember, both these players also have draw 7s. There we see another Serra Angel. And this is, of course, a problem for Robbert-Jan here. Finding a Mishra's Factory. Tapping 2 here. Okay, there's at least something. A Black Knight. Remember, Black Knight has protection from white. So at least he can attack with that starting next turn. There's the attack for 4. Robbert-Jan's going to drop to 12. Can Dion do something else to make the situation even worse for Robbert-Jan here? No, he cannot. He's passing turn. 3 cards here for Robbert-Jan. He's probably going to swing in with the Black Knight. Ooh, he's animating the factory. No, he's changing his mind. There's the attack with the Black Knight. So at least he's going to deal 2 damage, right? Or are we going to see a bolt or a Psyblast? And there, Dion's going to go to 14. Second main. There we see Dark Ritual into a Sengir Vampire. Wow, we haven't seen a single Sengir yet from this deck. Really nice to see this beautiful black bordered Sengir hitting the table. There we're going to see a quick Psyblast. There we see Dion finding another card, attacking for 4 again. Robbert-Jan's going to drop to 8. And there's the Savannah Lines. And that Savannah Lines is not going to be that impactful with the Mishra's Factory and the Black Knight on the table on the side of Robbert-Jan. But the problem for Robbert-Jan is he's on 8. He has to take care of that Serra Angel. He's on a 2-turn clock here. First attacking, so I'm kind of expecting him to go to 10 here. Or is he going to play a bolt? I don't expect him to. You probably want to keep that bolt. I mean, if you have a bolt, what he can do next turn is attack with the Savannah Lines and the Serra. Then, okay, there's an Hypnotic Spectre. Perhaps you want to bolt the Hippie because you want to keep dealing damage with the Serra. If he has a bolt, of course. Yeah, he's got the bolt again. So Hippie is gone. I understand this play because you just want to keep attacking with your Serra Angel. Now you're going to put Robbert-Jan on 4. I wonder if he's also going to attack with the Savannah Lines. If he does, he's probably got a Disenchant in hand or another bolt. Yeah, there we see Disenchant. So he's going to deal 6 points of damage, right? He's going to go to 2. Oh! Robbert-Jan needs an answer for the Serra. He cannot find it. Dion is going to make it with his core set Alpha Beta deck only all the way to the semifinals. That is a great, great achievement. Oh man, what a match. And that was the quarter final match of the Uthden Troll Cup. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a like, hit that like button. Also comment on this episode. If you want to, let me know what you think of this tournament so far. I'm saying so far because we still have the semifinals and the finals to go. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm happy that you found Timmy Talks. Please consider subscribing and don't forget to ring that bell. Okay, wow, what a match, what a match. Just getting to the semifinals with a core set only deck. I don't think I've seen that before. This is really something unique, at least unique for me. Let me know if you've seen it before. I'd love to hear from you. And before we take a look at the end scroll, I would just like to point out that if you like this content and if you want to support the channel, you can do so by becoming a patron of the channel. And how does that work? Well, it's actually quite simple. There's probably an info card popping up right now. And if you click on that info card, you'll be taken to the Timmy Talks Patreon page. And there you can read all about supporting the channel. And you can already do that starting with $1 a month. And the cool thing is, if you do, of course, you've got my eternal gratitude, but also you have access to the Timmy Talks Discord where you can talk with the other patrons. You also can take part in the Timmy Talks events, and your name will be listed in the end scroll at the end of every video. Every video? Yes, every video, including this one. So let's take a look at our amazing, wunderbar, fantastic channel members and patrons of Timmy Talks.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, put him in the longboat until he's sober, put him in the longboat until he's sober, put him in the longboat until he's sober. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Rises early in the morning. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Early in the morning. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises early in the morning. What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Put him in the scouts to the host my son. Put him in the scouts to the host my son. Put him in the scouts to the host my son.
Igitus figitus somba kazee.